So I just wrapped up another amazing interview with a good friend of mine, Michael Kitto, who has a lot of experience as a bodybuilder, personal trainer. He's a father and he's a real role model. He has a lot of knowledge that he wants to share and he's very passionate to do so. So stay tuned, it's one not to be missed. Comment if you haven't done yet. Please subscribe, like this video and keep watching for more. How you doing, buddy? You good? I can't hear you. I'm muted. Hello? Yes.
How about now? Perfect.
You're on it. How are you doing, buddy? You good?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's not bad. Things are a bit lifting over here now. The gyms are open back up a few days ago, so everyone's
Back to
feeling
normal.
insane. Well, I mean, there's still a lot of restrictions in place, but
Still better than what it was.
yeah, they've got to open it up because, you know, as you know, nobody's dying, but people are dying inside, and businesses. I mean, the amount of people have to fly out of Dubai, jobs.
Yeah, that's the problem.
More people are dying with the coronavirus situation.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the problem. Is
virus.
Exactly. This the effects of the virus rather than the virus itself. That's what's so frustrating.
I know it's crazy, but the good thing is, I think, like, whatever the reason behind it, I mean, obviously everyone's got different theories and there's different, you know, a lot of speculation, but whatever the reason behind it, I think if you are down that kind of route where you think this was created for a reaction, I think the opposite reaction's had, because now the power of the internet has had so many people voice their opinions, and now, like, I know far more people are watching things on conspiracy than watching things on like this virus.
Yeah, it's created. I hate the term conspiracy theorist. It's created more critical thinkers, perhaps, rather than conspiracy theorists. You know, at least people are actually thinking instead of just listening and following. And people are actually developing their own opinions, and it leads you down different pathways or different rabbit holes, I should imagine. But
100%. I mean, it's just like, you know, it's self-imprisonment, this whole thing is, and I mean, you could argue it's for the safety of you or the people around you, but that could be the same as like driving a car. Many people die driving a car. That means it doesn't give you the stop you from driving. It's a risk people, even governments and so forth, are willing to take because it's convenient to get around. So
nobody's stop driving. No.
Businesses are suffering.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there's a lot of silver lining comes out of a lot of things, and a lot of, you know, depending how you see it. Like I said, that's why we're doing this podcast. We're doing a lot of things that, like, I wanted to do for a while because, you know, I want to get more messages out there and encourage people. And this is something I probably put off for 6 months because I was doing other things. So I mean, if people have the opportunity, they can really take advantage. You know, what you've been up to, and how have you been spending your days like?
Well, I got 3 kids. Got no choice. Well, I enjoying it. Like, we've been spending most of our time recently. We've rediscovered Merthyr Mawr, you know, the dunes down Bridgend.
Oh yeah.
So I've been taking my kids up the dunes, running up the dunes, running up the Big Dipper, which is second biggest dune in Europe, apparently. So, been fun. About 200 foot of dune.
Crazy.
So
It's
that's been good
great
fun.
weather as well, hasn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful weather. Yes, like 24 degrees right now. I'm just sat in my garden. Oh, I've got a pool out the front. The kids are in the pool right now, and I'm chilling out the back now with a bit of beverage.
Oh, nice. It's getting too hot over here now to do a lot, to be honest.
Are you talking about 40s?
I think it's climbing there. I mean, it's you don't want to go out. I mean, you go out in the morning. We had a bit of an episode with the dog the other day. Like, took him out. It was too hot. He honestly nearly died. Literally, he come home, right? Come home. He was laying on the floor. He wouldn't come in. I took him straight in the shower. Put him in the shower. Tried cooling him down. He was falling everywhere. I was like, literally, picture this. He was on the floor. I was naked, fanning him down with a towel for about 30 minutes because he just was like gone. But he kept, like, I had to clean all his mouth from because he was frothing. I get the air conditioning hit him from outside. And when I finally got him to cool down, he couldn't put a weight on his legs. He was falling over. He was like exhausted. So I took him to the vet when he come down, and they said, like, you know, you're lucky, like, he's here. He sounded like he had a stroke. But then they didn't know the damage of his organs because his temperature must have been well over, like, where it should be. So they kept him in overnight then. They did all blood work on him. And they were like, you know, we don't know if he's going to die in the hour.
Really?
So it's obviously because the dog can't get the air in unless the temperature's hot. So,
crazy.
So I was wanting to get you on. I got a few questions, okay? And first of all, I'd like to start with, like, you know, obviously you started bodybuilding in terms of just bodybuilding to build muscle competitively as well from a young age. So what first of all inspired you to start training and start competing?
Well, prior to competing, before that even entered my mind, bodybuilding was actually an avenue to help better myself at other sports such as martial arts, rugby, football, etc., etc. So that's the reason why I started gym work. Obviously, you start off with your friends. You know, you go with your friends and get a bit competitive. You start to see a little bit of development. I remember back in school, we had a little small converted change room where they had a little bench, and we used to go to bench press contests dinner time. You know. And then my uncle got me further into it. He was sort of an amateur bodybuilder himself, without actually ever going any further anyway. And then I was encouraged to take part in Mr. Wales, where I think I had 6 weeks preparation. I was my first junior Mr. Wales. I was the only one competing, but I won, and the bug bit me. I was actually encouraged backstage by some of the intermediates, like Mark Owen, you know, Mark Owen from Casino and down Kicks Gym and all that. Well, they encouraged me to jump into their category just for the experience. So obviously after a few shots of vodka backstage, that's courage. I thought, why not jump in with the big boys? And it was good fun. And the rest is history. I just was so infectious. Such a camaraderie behind backstage. It just got me. And then obviously the gym. I love the gym anyway, but the camaraderie to go along with it. It just, it's all I ever wanted then, is to compete and build muscle. And you know, I was a decent level bodybuilder. You know, would have liked to go on further. I would have liked to have a chance to go on further. Obviously, certain things like health dictated that I couldn't prolong my career in bodybuilding.
So was that the goal then? Where was the goal? I mean, because everyone does things for a different reason. I mean, some people have aspirations of, you know, making a lot of money out of the sport. Some people have aspirations of being on different stages. Some people want to just build a physique. Where was the goal for you?
Well, ideally, you want to be competitive. I have a competitive nature. I thought I could have gone to a higher level than what I did achieve. I thought I could have, maybe in a few years' time, maybe competed, actually be actively competitive in the masters classes. And also, you never really think about earning money. I wasn't driven by earning money or the potential to earn money or anything like that. It was just a personal ambition. Bodybuilding was something I loved. And obviously, I did attempted to build a business based on that, my knowledge and obviously the years and years of hard work that I did put in the gym. but it just wasn't meant to be. Obviously, my health took a turn for the worse. I think it was back in 2012. Yeah, 2012, where I was diagnosed with my kidney condition. It was basically downhill from then. I tried to fight through. I was probably a bit naive and a bit ego-driven at the time, so I probably didn't put myself in the best position, because even after I got diagnosed, I still tried to pursue that career, to the detriment of my health. But you know, I don't regret it, because I enjoyed what I did. I loved competing. Like, if I got another chance now, I'd compete again. I enjoy being on stage. I enjoy the entire package that comes with it. Obviously, the training, the diet, and cardio, the regimen I miss. I really enjoyed the regimen. It's like when you get the off-season blues, it was like that for a long time. You know, so I do miss all that regimen. But again, that was very ego-driven. So kind of let that slide now. I'm not going to say I'm never going to go back to it. You know, like I did attempt to come back prior to my second bout with dialysis, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Stay
I mean,
positive.
it's like difficult, because when you're in that mindset, I mean, especially competitive mindset, I mean, any sports, any athlete, you know, you go into things with like a do or die attitude, really. I mean, even like Formula One racing, I mean, do you think the guys are risking their life every corner they take? I mean, I met two guys back a few years ago. They were very competitive superbike racers. They were two very good friends, and they were the top of the British champions for many years. And one of them had a kid, okay? And then he said, "So we had a kid. It's like a developed a conscience." And he said, like, I started thinking about my children when I was going to the corners. I just couldn't go as fast. And the one, obviously, the other guy who didn't have insurance just kept excelling. This guy was just falling in the ranks. And he was just saying, I couldn't just do it anymore with that kind of mentality. And like I said, any sport, anything in life, I mean, if you want to be the best you can be in that area, it comes with sacrifice, it comes with risk. And that's what a lot of people, myself in certain areas, is willing to you know, sacrifice. I mean, you're willing to do what's important to you. So how hard does that like transition, obviously, with yourself? It almost, although everything is a choice, it was like not a choice, right? I mean, felt like not a choice. It was taken from you, in a sense.
Yeah.
So how was the transition period of that, like the acceptance?
It was for a long time. It was extremely difficult because it was the largest part of my life was training and competing and preparing other people. It was my life. So for it to be taken away in some sort, it was a bit of a pill to swallow. But I had children, and again, like you just mentioned, that changes perspective. You know, that the most important thing in your life is your children, and that gave me something different. It was something else to focus on. Like probably like yourself, if you didn't have a contest, that focus, you know, to stay that laser drive that you want to achieve something. My children are that now, you know. Yeah. So I just want to make them happy, healthy, provide for them. That's my sole purpose now. And nothing gives me more pleasure or more joy now. But admittedly, it was extremely difficult for a few years. Again, it's a lot to do with this ego again, you know. You always want to be the biggest guy, the strongest guy, you know, the most ripped. But then you realize it's not all that important. It's not important at all, in fact. You just find different anchors, you know. So like prior to my kids, bodybuilding was my life. But then I learned to move on, and you have to, otherwise you dwell and you end up in a hole. It did. I was in a hole for a while. It was, you know, and I'm gonna beat around the bush. I suffered serious mental health issues because I felt like my life was taken away abruptly. So, but
yeah, I know exactly how you feel there. I mean, I'm very, like I said, I always have an anchor, like you said. And if it's not one thing, like I started prepping this year for the Mr. Worlds, and then it got, well, it didn't all kind of, didn't get for a while, but I was still prepping. And then that kind of led me into fasting as well, because I was like, well, you know, this has been stopped, but I feel like I need something else to stimulate me, to challenge
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But I suppose
That's where it
it's
is.
about choosing the right challenges that are, you know, not just
Yeah,
benefiting you. I mean, if you've got family, like you said now, and your children, your world, I mean, there's a different kind of satisfaction that comes from that. You know, you're making a difference in other people's lives as well, yours. So, you know, I mean, when you're being destructive, and that's what's difficult sometimes with bodybuilding. I suppose any sport. I mean, you go through periods, right, where you know what you're doing, and you know even how you're training is not positive for the future. It's not. It doesn't align with. It's something, you know, but you're willing to do it. You know, there's been many times you can turn up to the gym and pushing yourself. I mean, is that necessary? Is that needed? Like,
yeah. And
that's difficult to come away from.
it's your personality has a lot to do with it as well. Like I was probably the same as well. Bit of an extremist. Like when you're young, naive, and you think the sky's the limit, you're willing to push to every level. That's physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, you sacrifice relationships, you sacrifice social life, you sacrifice your work, even. You know, and you know a lot of facets of life they get left by the wayside while you're in, especially during contest prep. It's like nothing else matters. When you're clock watching all the time, you know, constantly clock watching. And I know a lot of people found me quite difficult and quite destructive during my early competitive years. I suppose the more you compete, mind, you kind of get more laid back as you get to know yourself a bit better, your body. You realize how destructive you have been to family members or in relationships. It's a very fine balancing act. Like I consider myself quite an extreme person. I did probably, if I'm gonna go down that route, like obviously with the drug use in bodybuilding, probably pushed my body too far, and obviously that had a detrimental effect on my long-term health. That's probably the only regret that I have.
Would you say, you know, your health conditions, where they went to, would you say they were, you know, an effect from what you was doing?
Yeah, definitely. They certainly didn't help. I was diagnosed with a condition called FSGS, or focal segmental glomerular sclerosis, a mouthful, back in 2012 following a biopsy. I was quite on top of my health. And I went in for one, I think it was in June of 2012. And they come back with some elevated levels they're concerned about. So I had some further testing, which led to me undergoing a biopsy. And the results of the biopsy determined that I had FSGS. At the time, obviously, I was educated at that point. I was naive to the condition. Once you go ahead and you do research and speak to doctors and whatever, and I realized it was a very serious condition. So that knocked the wind out of my sails. When I realized the gravity of the illness.
When was that, Mike? What year was that?
That was 2012.
So, okay, so that was when you competed last. Was it before you competed or after?
But I was competing that year. I was going to compete that year, but then put a stop to it. 2011 was my last time that I competed. I was planning to do it 2012, the Wales and Port Talbot, but obviously with the news that I had to reevaluate my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, was it like, because obviously you said you struggled a little bit with your mental health after that, like anybody would. I mean, you can imagine, you know, how you would feel, especially because you're still young. I mean, you know, you still got years of, you know, development inside and out to do. Was there a time that you kind of like maybe turned towards that or against that? So did you like blame something that you loved so much? You know, it's like when somebody comes out of their relationship sometimes. And they start saying, oh, it's because of you, I haven't got a job, and because of you. But at the time when they were fully in love, they were willing to give everything to that person. Did you like rebel against it a little bit?
strangely enough, I actually embraced bodybuilding more. It was it's what I clung onto was my clutch. Obviously, at the time I was working as a personal trainer, so it was my livelihood as well. So obviously, being in that environment and that type of job, how you look is your product. So again, this was also detrimental. It was my personality again. I clung on to my bodybuilding like it was the last thing that mattered to me. So, and that probably had more of a negative effect on my health long term again, because I didn't want to take the drugs they recommended at the time. I didn't want to take the steroids and the immunosuppressants. I did initially, but I had terrible side effects. My joints were hurting. I couldn't lift any weights. So I stopped them when they could have actually prolonged they could have prolonged the life of my kidneys prior to them rejecting. But there's the young naivety, invincibility again, you know. So I kind of, you tend to not believe, you know. I was disbelieving, you know, and I had this other side to me, this belief that if I'm mentally strong enough, that I'm going to be the one person that can overcome this disease just through willpower alone. And I believed that, but in the back of my head, and I had a niggling thought, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like the weight training, the bodybuilding was, you know, and I don't mean this being disrespectful, I mean it's talking from the same position where you are. It's all you know how to get you from feeling how you do in the dumps and down to feeling better. Yeah. So I mean, how can you avoid doing that? You're feeling shit. Training helps you feel better. You can't train because your joints are killing, and so it's like, what do you decide to do? Do you sit at home being depressed, or do you walk around limping and in pain because your joints are hurting? I mean, I can only imagine. I know what I would choose to do at first, and again, it's that acceptance that's the challenge, right? I mean, especially when your ego is so powerful and strong, it's accepting, you know, the truth of the situation.
Yeah, it's obviously the industry that you're in as well, especially if you work in it and you make your living from it. It's a narcissistic industry. It's a very vain industry. Like I said, you are the product, and so I had to continue training. I had to continue looking the way that I wanted to look to generate business anyway, you know. So that was another driving force, along with my own personality, and like you said, to get myself out of that hole. That was my shot of dopamine, you know. That was my hit. That was my drive. Everywhere, you know, the feeling you get from the gym, nothing gives you a better high. So that kept me high, I suppose. You know, I loved where I worked. I loved the environment. I loved the people I worked with. You know, so maybe it was you know, for my health wise, it was probably the poor choice, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, we kind of, you know, we build this shell sometimes, and you know, portray to be strong and powerful, and you know, I certainly do. We do it sometimes for the wrong reasons. You may feel like you have to do it for business or what have you. But the truth is, I mean, you're walking around and, you know, you're in denial to yourself, not you, but, you know, I mean, like, is this conducive to health? I know certainly, like I said, you know, as the years gone on, I've certainly been a lot smarter with certain things I've done. Even training, you know, I love to train the way I do. I love to train, kill myself in the gym, but I'm like, you know,
I know. That's what you're known for.
Yeah, is it necessary? And two, do I even need to do it? I mean, like last year, I took a massive, like, not back step. I started training a lot smarter. My body just developed better. Since I was meditating, right, I learned, like, I was always married to the mindset of going into the gym, like I need to kill somebody, you know, filling my mind with thoughts, like, you know, I need to be in a negative state of mind to unleash the beast and to go to war. I'd drive to the gym, put the music on, and get me pumping. I'd walk up and that's how I felt. And since the meditation, it allowed me to realize, like, if I was just focused on myself, on what was going on inside, and just focused on my breath and keeping calm, my performance was just like skyrocketed, and my recovery was going fast. So then it was like, I always thought that I needed to, like, gee, I couldn't train with people. Like some people like yourself, very selective, but certain people I couldn't train because they would affect my vibe, you know, unless they were like, stupid. But again, it's being married to that ideal and that mindset of this is what I need to do and this is how I need to, you know, act in order to get that result, you know. And like I said to you many times before, like I honestly don't believe that you needed to be as big as you needed to be for business because you're so knowledgeable. All you needed to do is speak, and people will be blown away. You know, like I knew, like even then, I was like, you're so intelligent. But again, you was married to that idea of needing to look a certain way to be attractive.
You
know.
Well, that's the problem. Like, people come into a gym and they think, oh, I want to look like that, you know, or obviously he knows what he's doing, you know, you see results, you know, the proof's in the pudding. So that was my initial thing. But like you said, being wiser, the knowledge is there, you know, it's still there. And it is a passion of mine, and I would ideally love to get back into that type of work and that type of environment again. Obviously, being older and a bit more wiser now, and exactly what you just said, just trying to pass on the knowledge and speaking to more people. Like this is what's been. It's been great watching you over a few years, and I've known you for a long time now, Chris. You know, we was doing the old active bodies on the old basement. And I remember you then, and I remember seeing you up in DW, and like the loudest person in the gym at the time, like pushing the heaviest weights. You know, and you've always been physically strong, and your work ethic has always been. You've always outworked everyone. But it's been watching you, like not just your physique develop, but your mentality and your intelligence and the way you train. It's been like the development of, like, I've seen your photo. Remember the time you done your first show down in Newport? Natural show, and you were tying up in my back garden.
That's it, with the bikini pants on.
Yeah. And like seeing you now compared to then, and like the knowledge that you've garnered all the years, and you put in the miles, you know, not just in the gym, but in your books as well. You know, and courses you studied and everything. It's been wonderful to see you develop. You know, and this is how it should be. What is it? The journey. Any young bodybuilder should follow your roots. So
I mean, like I was chatting with my mate. He popped over the other day. To be honest, I haven't seen him for a while. It's a client of mine. He's good friends. We just have a chat, and it's different on my mindset is now because I'll be totally honest, right? I don't get that impressed by physiques or by strength anymore because there's always a limit. I mean, some people are superior, right? But I mean, once you've lifted a lot and you look a certain way, some people come above and beyond, but it's still a limit. Can you hear me now? Yeah, but there's always a limit. But where my understanding's gone, the mind, man, is capable of things I can't even fathom at the moment. I know there's this much, and it's capable of this. So that has fascinated me. You know, like the body, I'm like, okay, the difference would be is like going from deadlifting, right? If you go from deadlifting 200 to 300, that's massive, right? Wow. If you pull 500 off the floor, that's massive. But the cognitive ability of some people and the intelligence they have on a scale of other people is like, boom. They're much consciousness and aware. So that has really like pulled me in. And I get more like excitement learning about the mindset, the mentality, understanding, awareness of everything. Yeah, okay, the body needs to be important. But like you said, what's needed? Like, do you need to be walking around at like so heavy you can't even run? What's that about? You're building a physique that you can't use to look a certain way. Stuff like that, the shifting mindset of that is not registered the same for me, you know? Wow. I don't know if you can hear me. Yes, we got you back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened then.
Yes. I think it might have run out, to be honest. I'm not quite sure, but sometimes, because we're in Dubai, the signal is like, usually they ban a lot of things, man, like FaceTime and these things. So sometimes the VPN gets a bit dodgy. But
Nice.
yeah, so that's what I was saying really about like doesn't really sync with me too much. Like building a physique that's not functional, just to like lay there or look a certain way. It's like you were saying. It's like gaining all that knowledge that you want to pass on now. What's the point of having it? I mean, you want to pass on to your children, education people. So what I want to know is like, with the early signs, like of obviously any conditions you had, what was that? Obviously, you just went to get your blood check work done. Something got picked up.
Well, yeah, I was feeling. I was suffering from extreme fatigue, but I put it down to long hours. Like working as a personal trainer, you could start at 6 a.m. and finish.
Breaking up. See if you can turn your screen on the side as well, Mike. He's back.
You on?
Yeah. See if you can turn your screen on the side if you can. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah. So early signs. Well, like I said, I was getting my bloods done regular anyway, and I was getting a lot of migraines and fatigue. So that preempted me to go and get further checks. So if I break it down, signs to look for that you got potential. What's going on now? So technical issues all the time.
Yeah, I know what's going on.
So yeah, fatigue was one of the main things, but I initially put it down to working long hours. As I said previously, you as a PT, you can start at 6 a.m. and finish at 10 p.m. Plus, I was working on the doors in Cardiff at the same time, so sometimes I was working from 6 a.m. all the way till 3 in the morning, and then back into the same the next day. So I was pushing my body quite a lot, including you got your own training on top of that as well, and then other daily life stresses. So, but other things to look out for is foamy urine, loss of appetite, edema, especially on the legs area, or on the face as well. I know I suffered a lot of that. I noticed my ankles were always swollen. I said chronic fatigue as well is one of the main signs. If you've got foamy urine or proteinuria, where there's too much protein in the urine, then I recommend you get yourself checked out. Just get a blood test done. Kidney disease is a silent killer. Sometimes you don't have any symptoms at all. I thought I was fit and well. I just thought I was tired from general wear and tear, just from working life. But you never be too careful. I remember we discussed this before. You had to get your kidneys checked out at one point. I remember.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Luckily, you were fine.
Yeah, it was just something they wanted to do. Really. I think my liver enzyme always comes a little bit elevated. It's been like that since I was like 15. So that's a normal range for me. But they wanted to do a kind of scan on my liver, which they did, and they also ultrasound on my kidneys. And one of the valves is like hydrophenosis, where one of the valves is a bit bigger on the one side. And they said it can either be genetic, or it can be like you pass a kidney stone. And a lot of pregnant women get it apparently, where there's a lot of pressure on the bladder and push a lot of urine out fast. But they just say keep an eye on it. Luckily, my kidney levels were fine, and they just said just keep on top. I've had a lot of like little scares. It was one time I thought I had hemochromatosis because I was feeling shit. I mean, like I was feeling depressed. I was feeling a lot of things. I knew like my testosterone levels were really low. I was fatigued, and we were traveling and moved there, and I just didn't enjoy it. I remember like we were doing things that were like people were dreaming doing, and it just wasn't doing nothing for me. It was like I was dead, and I just knew something was wrong. So I went to get my blood work done, and my like testosterone levels were low and all this stuff. But my iron levels were like through the roof. Literally, they were so high. And then it all kind of started fitting in place. I was thinking, well, I was getting all the symptoms of like hemochromatosis, and that would affect all my hormone balance. So we did like test after test, and it was so frustrating. I mean, I've been in the opposition, not to the degree, man, but I mean, I went privately because it was taking way too long. They were like, okay, we'll send you for a blood work in like 6 months. I was like, what? I want to know today, like, you know, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But with myself, what happened is, or how my body is kind of structured is since birth, my body absorbs too much iron. But because it's been a genetic maybe disorder, I've got more carriers, way more than the normal person. Like, so if I have more carriers, nothing's deposited around my organs or around everything because my body's dealing with the flow. So I just got to keep an eye on my iron levels and keep doing, like, you know, giving blood as often as I can. But, you know, I went through test after test. We tested, like, you know, my intestinal tract, you know, how much filtration was working. And then after like a series of tests, it was finally like, you know, and it's frightening, man. I can only imagine like where you was, because in my mind, what I was going through, we were planning to move away to Australia at the time. We ended up coming to Dubai. So I was really like in an urge to get things done because I didn't want to move away with this in my mind, like what's going on. And I can imagine, like, if you wanted to compete or whatever you were doing, you probably wanted like answers straight away. Like, you know, how is this going to affect my longevity? How is this going to affect my career? How is this going to affect my life? You know, and what would be the things that, if you could, obviously, we never live with regret, and everything you've done has made us the person we are here today. But I mean, what would you go back? Where would you pay the most attention to? Obviously, you're getting your blood. Would you look into like your nutrition, you know, supplement support?
I was pretty good with my nutrition. I probably ate more meat than I should have had, probably. But obviously, it's the drugs. You know, the drugs played a massive part in my kidney health. Things like Trembolone that I used too harshly for too long. You know, a lot of the orals. I was stupid. It was, you know, I hold my hands up, and I didn't need to use the amount that I did, and for the length that I did as well. I just wanted to win. So like I said earlier, I was a bit of an extremist. I think everybody at a young age think they're invincible. I just you know, sometimes you need an older head around you, and you're growing up in active bodies and you've seen the people in that environment perhaps give you the wrong advice, you know. So I think, and I believe that you are a product of your environment, and I took the advice, and I took it a step further, and I thought more is better, you know. So, and you start play Russian roulette with your health, and you should never do that. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. So that's probably the only regret. You know, I don't regret taking steroids. You know, I regret how much and for how long I took them, and probably some of the compounds that I should have stayed away from.
Like you said, it kind of in that environment, and I definitely agree with you. One of my clients told me kind of, you know, a bit of a metaphor many months ago, and it's kind of stuck with me. He was like, you know, if you took 2 carrots or a carrot and you split it in half, and you had 2 glasses of water, you heard this, yeah? Yeah. Anyone working?
Yeah,
I said to you, I posted it.
Yeah, you posted that very
same
saying.
I mean, so you're in that environment where everyone's bodybuilding, everyone, hey, hello, everyone's risking everything. How you doing? How you doing? What you been doing? What are you eating then?
Banana.
Banana. Oh, but you stabbed them so well, didn't you?
I know.
Crazy. It's funny. I was watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind last night, and the little boy reminds me so much of you, boy. On Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I was watching last night, and I was you little boy reminding me of the little boy on there.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
So, what advice? I'll leave you with this. I wanted to know of this of you. What advice would you give? Because you know how it is, but when you're in that mindset, you're not going to listen to anybody. You know, what advice would you give somebody who's, you know, willing to risk everything? Because I remember you told me once before, and I want to know if your thoughts have changed on this. And I know they probably would have, because we're different people and you was a different person then. Everyone changes. Yeah. You change every 5-10 years of your life. You said, I would rather live a short life as a lion than a long life as a sheep. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it that them same like kind of words? Was it that? I'd rather live my life as a lion.
That's kind of, yeah.
Than kind of live a long life as a sheep.
That's kind of a motto that I've had my entire life. You know, but again, having children changes that. You know.
Yeah.
So I'd rather live like a tortoise instead.
So yeah, that's always wins, right? The tortoise in the air. So you know, and again, I suppose like if we look at what sheep are, sheep just follow the one in front. Now, you've never been one to follow the one in front. So
no.
you're still living like a lion. You know, the only difference is you're a lot more, you're wiser, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So if I was to give some advice to anybody, especially if they're going into the bodybuilding world, into that domain, I'd recommend they get in touch with someone like yourself, who are an experienced trainer who has experience of the darker side of bodybuilding as well as the light side of bodybuilding, I suppose. And listen, you know, don't just get into an environment where bigger, better, faster at any expense. You need to listen to someone who's been there and done it, and can guide you. You know, so like a lot of people say, "Oh, personal training is expensive." Expensive health, I don't think so. 30, 40 pound an hour is cheap when especially if it's good, solid knowledge. You know, there's a lot of duds out there. There's a lot of weekend warrior PTs, but there are some goldies as well, like yourself. Also, I recommend anybody who wants to get into bodybuilding, get yourself a PT. You know, as long as they got a good reputation, they look like they know what they're talking about. They've actually been and done where you want to go. Listen to them and actually listen to them. Don't ask questions and not follow them. You know, there's too many assholes, especially in that industry. You know,
it's changed now massively as well, but since we were like younger, it's changed so much, like, isn't it? I mean, now, I mean, in Dubai as well, you can imagine, like, everyone, you know, wants things like this. You know, I get people to come join me, right, but 5 weeks out from a contest, they want me to prep them. I know you did your first preparation 6 weeks. And you was living like a bodybuilder for weeks, months up until that. They want it like now. And it's so hard to try to steer them in the right direction, you know, and not be like, look, you know, nothing worth having is going to be built in a short space of time. And that is where the journey is, you know, is developing that kind of position.
That's the beauty of bodybuilding. It's a long-term thing. Your physique, your body, it develops with your mind over time, and it gets better and better. You know, but the key is longevity. Don't burn out too fast. Don't do what I did. Don't be an extremist and use up all your trump cards, and then you end up with long-term health issues, which cuts everything short. You know, like my life now is 3 days a week. I have to go in for dialysis for 4 to 5 hours in the morning. And those days are basically a write-off for me. They give me terrible migraines and exhaustion. And so I'm losing half a week every week. And obviously that's affecting my family life, affecting my work life, personal life, private life, all facets of my life. So, and like it's become, you know, something of a mission for me now to bring to attention kidney disease. There's this a horrendous disease. And you got, like, in the UK now, 1 in 8 have or will develop chronic kidney disease. And it's around 3 million in the UK currently suffering. 63,000, I think, are being treated for stage 5, or what's called end-stage renal phase, where the function is less than 50%. And there's 3,000 transplants performed every year, but there's still 5,000 waiting. So there's a shortage of kidneys. Well, it's rife. Kidney disease, and you've seen it, especially in particularly over the last few years in bodybuilders. Kidney disease is more prevalent in bodybuilding now than it ever has been. I mean, in society in general, like, you've got, obviously, most well known is Flex Wheeler. He suffered the same condition as me, FSGS. You've got Andy Cole, the footballer. You've got Ed Hearn, who was, I think he was a baseball player, or baseball player. Gary Coleman, the actor. You know, some well-known people with this condition. And it's rife in the community right now.
Yeah, man, it's real. Like you said, you can't recover that, right? I mean, other organs can kind of regenerate and, you know, recover from whatever, but with your kidneys, you know, it's life or death. It can be, right? I mean, so definitely, I mean, we've all been at that age, and anybody's watching this will be at that age now where, you know, we certainly don't think of the future, especially if you have like even an entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, you know, you're so focused on the future that you forget the present moment, and that is all that's important. The past, you know, is not even, the past may not even have existed. The future is, you know, uncertain, but now is. And it's something I've got to keep reminding myself to do, if I'll be honest, you know, is just be aware of the current moment, appreciate where you are, because that's always important.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah,
we're not ones to preach. I'm certainly trying not to tell people how to conduct their life, because, like you said, everything happens for a reason, and who you were is the result of who you become. And if you're happy with who you are, you have to look back on every event in your life with a positive view, because that will lead you to who you are. It's like a butterfly effect, right? You go back, change one thing. Like, would your children even be here now? You know what I mean? So everything that comes and everything that follows is a result of everything that's been. But just be smart. I mean, like, you know, don't rush things, because, like you said, the bodybuilding is about longevity. It does take time. You know, if you want to build a lot of muscle, if you want to build a strong physique, it needs to develop with time, patience, perseverance, and with the discipline.
Man, it's been really nice to catch up with you. I mean, it's been a while, and I really look forward to getting back into UK as well. I'm saying this to everybody I speak to. We'll definitely catch up, but I just want to thank you for coming on today, man, sharing your knowledge, your experience, and guiding other people in the right direction. It's been a pleasure, and I really look forward to seeing you, man. Yeah? Okay, man. Yes, cheers. Thank you, brother. Okay, take care. Bye. Bye. Another great interview. Wow. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done yet, and stay tuned for many more of these videos, plus more information on training, nutrition, exercise, mindset, motivation, and everything else. #BULLMODE.